As the world meets in Davos, Vice President Shettima set to represent Nigeria at annual economic talks. National Assembly extends recess by 1 week. Nigeria opens African appearance with Equatorial Guinea, plays 1-1 draw. And on Good Morning Nigeria today, we shall discuss the Armed Forces Remembrance Day. Here, as we celebrate, the Armed Forces Remembrance Day, I think it is, and I speak the minds of many Nigerians, that today should be spent on solemn reflections of the past, celebrations of the present, and hope for the future. Now, let me share this quote by President Bola Ahmed Tinubu when he said, "We owe a debt of gratitude to our gallant troops who have risen to the challenge of securing this great nation," and I unquote. Nyori. Well said, Jume, and I like the tone. You said that. Mr. President actually made that comment at the launch of the Armed Forces Remembrance Emblem, a fund set up to help veterans and their families. The Armed Forces Remembrance Day serves as a reminder of Nigeria's commitment to honoring her heroes and supporting veterans and their families. And when you go down memory lane, several events led to the commemoration of this day. That is, the most significant is the end of the Nigerian Civil War. January 15 was picked to mark the restoration of Nigeria's unity. And if you're in Abuja, you would realize that Abuja is wearing a new look this morning, especially the Eagle Square. Nigerians will be treated to a display of military prowess and mastery today. Now, the welfare of the Nigerian Armed Forces and those of families of fallen heroes make up the high points of today's program. The first for the week. You're welcome to Good Morning Nigeria. I am Jume Yusuf. And I'm Henry John. I also welcome you to the program. We're reaching you live on the network service of the NTA. We'll bring you the usual segments in the program, and that includes business, market, foreign, and of course sports, as AFCON gets hot up. All right, but for now, let's pause and let Dennis feed us with the latest with the morning news. Dennis, were you one of those whose heart was beating so fast during the Nigerian match?
Oh,
the newsroom yesterday was like, nobody should talk to me. Nigeria.
There's certainly room for improvement, but my heart wasn't beating. It's just the first game, so let's exactly. Keep hope alive.
Yes.
All right, good morning, Yenri and Jume. Good morning, Nigeria. Here is the morning news. Vice President Kashim Shettima has departed Abuja to represent Nigeria at the 2024 annual meeting of the World Economic Forum, scheduled to hold in Davos, Switzerland. The Vice President will join other political and business leaders across the world to discuss global socio-economic and developmental issues. Top on the Vice President's agenda, apart from the plenary session, is the launch of the Private Sector Action Plan for the African Continental Free Trade Area, AFCTA, at a special session to be chaired by him. He is also billed to hold high-level discussions with the Managing Director of the IFC, Makhtar Diop, and the Prime Minister of Vietnam, Pham Minh Chinh, among others. Also on the sidelines of the annual meeting, the Vice President will chair a roundtable dialogue on Nigeria's economic path and will attend a special session dedicated to building trust in the global energy transition program. He is expected back in Nigeria after participating at the week-long event. National Assembly has announced extension of its ongoing recess by 1 week. Clerk of the House of Representatives Yahaya Danzaria in a communication to members notes that the resumption date for both the Senate and House of Representatives has been pushed back from Tuesday 23rd January to Tuesday 30th of January. The National Assembly proceeded on its current recess on the 30th of December after the passage of the 2024 Appropriation Bill, which is now an Act of Parliament. The State Wing of the Standing Committee of the Nigerian Union of Teachers has directed all primary school teachers in the Federal Capital Territory to resume the suspended strike in 2023 owing to the failure of the area councils to meet the demands as promised. The resumed strike is to further press home demands, and it is effective from today, Monday, 15th January. The decision is contained in its communique issued at the end of an emergency meeting of the State Wing Standing Committee held on Friday, 12th of January. The session equally resolved that if the outstanding demands of the primary school teachers are not met before 19th January, all secondary school teachers in the FCT will join in solidarity effective Monday, 22nd of January, stating injury to one is injury to all as its reason. It could be recalled that the FCT primary school teachers embarked on an indefinite strike on the 11th of September 2023 to press home demands for the implementation of 40% peculiar allowance amongst other arrears. That's news for now. Good morning.
Paper reviewer Chukudi Okolubaja is seated here. Chooks, the boy looking bright and early.
I don't know. Is it my colors or something?
Yeah.
I started getting our comments about how I look.
You look
Right from the door there.
Yeah. So you didn't get any palpitation, heart attack during the Nigerian match yesterday?
If you want me to confess on this,
Yes, I do.
I watch Nigerian matches with a little,
Yeah.
I don't commit everything. So that nobody gets to break my heart. You see that mystery scoring chances for crying out loud.
I saw that.
Yeah,
And
the quick response to the score, after
yeah,
they won, they scored, and then Nigeria scored, and I thought the misses was what gave me.
Exactly.
I was so annoyed with the misses. Come on,
You get to a stage
come
in
on.
life, you don't get too desperate to get certain things done.
Yes.
So that your efficiency.
Or being too overconfident that you think this team is a walkover.
Sometimes it's inability to handle, desperation.
Yes.
Sometimes you want to put, in a moment of fright, you could actually push the needle into the wrong place. So all the time, you must have a hold, put a hold on your tendencies to rely on the reflex. Yeah.
But one thing I know about Nigerian team is they sort of wake up after a loss like this. It's a 1-1 draw, yes, but maybe the next match is going to be better.
I think Arsenal breaks my heart enough without adding the local heartbreak.
You're not being patriotic there.
I don't know about pretending. That's my problem in life. I say the way.
Well, you always preach patriotism. You should let the story go break your heart instead of Arsenal.
Because Junai is on the other side, she's not showing Chukudi. I'm not that kind of person. My mom doesn't like me because of it. I tried.
Enough of football.
We'll get better.
Enough of football and the heart attacks that it brings. Let's quickly go to the papers this morning, and I'll begin with the Daily Trust newspaper. And just below the masthead, airlines trapped funds. Pressure mounts despite $61 million release. Find details on page 23. 100 days of war on Gaza. Israel kills 23,968 Palestinians. You find the details on page 38. And just at the side piece of the picture story, Super Eagles avoid upset against Equatorial Guinea. Details on page 39. ACF, NEF meet over North challenges. Details on page 5. FCT primary school teachers begin strike today. Find details on page 20. And the story, the headlines, that is touching the hearts of so many Nigerians since it broke yesterday. Bandits hold 5 sisters after killing one in Abuja. With riders demand 100 million. Fantami's friend raises 50 million. 4 other captives killed in Kaduna. Ilori Union urges FG to rescue abductees. We have intensified rescue operations. That's coming from the police, and you can see the picture there, a family photo of 5 of the 6 sisters with their father before they were recently abducted. We'll quickly go to Nyere to take her stories, then we come back to talk about
yes.
All right, that story happens to be leading the leadership this morning, but of course in a different way. It's captioned this way: kidnapping in FCT, concerned as Pantami raises ransom for victims. The riders security agencies not utilizing same policy. Terrorists kill victim after ransom payment, demand additional 16 million naira. We have deployed our operatives to rescue them. That's coming from the police. Away from that story, we have, beside that, APC vows to reclaim Edo, retain Ondo, capture Anambra. I think I like the sound of that. APC vows to reclaim Edo, retain Ondo, capture Anambra.
I thought we were trying to shake off the military mentality.
The language there,
capture Anambra.
Yes.
Yeah.
Capture is not quite a positive thing, is it? Anyway, politicians and their clan. We don't venture there. We never get to understand them.
Honestly, away from that, we have troops reject 12 billion naira bribe, arrest smugglers in Ogun.
That's a good one.
Details on page 4, and above the master this morning we have king makers reject deposition of Kogi monarch. Details on page 7. We have this one coming from Akpabio. Of course, it's on the Armed Forces Day. We won't compromise Nigeria's unity. That's it from the leadership this morning.
Armed Forces Remembrance Day is very important. May God continue to be with our troops.
Amen.
Wherever they are.
And
particularly when we put them in harm's way. So
the hyper-headed insecurity situation we have in this country. And then
like
this story of bandits holding 5
sisters. Adjective you adopted there.
Yes.
Hydra-headed.
Hydra-headed, yes.
It doesn't quite make us happy.
No, it
doesn't sound cheering. But that is a proper characterization of the situation.
Yes.
And that tells our security forces that we have a lot of work to do. Adopting people in Buhari area council of the FCT. You kill one of the sisters, and the other ones, people are boasting that they still have them and that you're going to make it 60 million or not 50 million anymore.
It's 100 million now.
Oh, it's gone to 100 million.
100 million now.
You know, when some of these things happen.
Oh, really?
Yes, 100 million.
You see,
now.
look at the way.
From 60 to 100 million after killing one of them.
Did you hear how
the eldest?
How Nyere said, really?
Yes.
Because that really struck her
Yes.
as not just absurd, but damning of what the security people can do to them.
Yes.
So it's the security people will lay everything at their feet at the end of the day. By the time we begin to have criminals who beat their chest that we can do it over and over, you're not safe. I'm not safe. The relatives of the security people are not safe. The security people themselves are not safe. The state must always be seen to have the upper hand in terms of, if it's the tools of violence, we tell you, we have it more than you do.
Yes.
Because you need to quell deadly riots sometimes when some people take it upon there to begin to kill other people. We tell you, it can't happen. So the state must always be one step ahead of that criminally minded person. And how do we do it? You see, this reactive tendency towards crime is not the best. There was a novel I read way back in time, The Mind of Mr. J.G. Reader. Mr. J.G. Reader was, well, the novel still subsists, so let me say is an investigator. And he tells you, to solve crimes, I begin to think like the criminal.
To catch a thief, you have to be a thief.
That's it. To catch a thief, you begin to think like one. You understand? So our security people should mix with us more. You get to hear that in daredevil situations, A female policeman can pose as a commercial sex worker in a hotel just to catch criminals.
Yes.
True.
They go that length.
That was them.
They actually suffer. They go the extra mile for us. Why is it that the Sunday Adeusi times, we're not boasting about those times anymore? I'm not saying the IGP and his men are not doing a commendable work. They need to do
more. And Pantami is
criminals
towing,
cannot be boasting in our backyard.
They cannot.
It doesn't help.
Pantami is also towing the line that you're towing
That's
as
it.
regards our security operatives.
And he's explaining that.
And reading here, he's saying that security agencies are failing to track calls and other digital imprints of kidnappers.
How much of technology are we using? How much of
If they
technology?
can call and demand, that phone can be tracked. Even if the phone is on, you can hack that phone.
You can
We watch
establish the
movies,
radius
we
of a
watch
call
movies.
within a matter of minutes. So, if the police are lacking in terms of equipment to track, what are we putting in our request when the annual ritual of a budget happens? You don't have an excuse.
You don't.
This drone can help you track out all those bandits we see in the bushes. Some drones, their cameras are so powerful
Yes.
that they come from 1,000 feet. When they're invisible to the eye, still pick up
Yes.
almost a pin on the ground.
Yes, exactly. And
How
we have
much
different
are
kinds
we
of
availing
drones,
ourselves?
insect drones and all that.
That's
now.
the
Technology
point.
has moved beyond our wildest imagination.
21st century is 21st century.
Yes.
We have to act like people who are in it. It's as simple as that. We don't have an excuse.
We don't.
Those sisters, may God be with them, but please let the security people allow God work with them to get these helpless and hapless Nigerians, our fellow sisters.
And the recent report says that no fewer than 15 persons have been reportedly kidnapped in the FCT alone since the beginning of 2024. Today is just the 15th of January.
So,
I mean, this is a very sad development.
So
I just think that
the
something has to be done.
IGP has to be called to say, hey, do you have any problems we need to help you solve? Because I always like us to start from partnering.
Yes.
You know, don't go castigating people.
With the
Don't know
citizens.
what issues
When
they
you say if you see something, say something.
the citizens.
Yes.
See something, say
Citizen
something. I'm
responsibility.
rather not a ghost.
No.
Now, a person like you and me, they drink yam for that hotel.
That's why I say
you
Bona.
Sabian.
Yes.
That was Ray Michael Machuku on Radio Rivers 2 FM stereo, when social jingles were part of the bargain. You don't even get to hear them on radio and TV anymore. The slide to nothingness is a steady journey in this country. And I begin to ask, whom have we decided to become? We were not like this. They say, when we talk like this, you're old-fashioned. I'm not old-fashioned.
We're not like this.
I ask children of these days, are you really happy people? And they say they're happy. I say, I don't see why you should be happy, because you're not living the way we live.
It depends on their
They say,
perception of
we
happy.
don't know how you live, so this is the life we know.
Yes.
But we can make their lives better.
Better.
Japanese, Chinese, China, how many? 1.4 billion?
Yes.
But they control their people.
Yes, they do.
Japanese, there are certain things you don't get to hear in there.
Yes.
The culture is passed on to subsequent generations.
Yes.
What sort of parents do we have in Nigeria at the moment? I don't burn them anything where I make it do. Another Ray Michael want to go jingle FM stereo.
We need to bring
Total.
back these jingles.
We need
Because
to.
growing up, the jingles was sort of a teacher on its own, because it teaches us a lot of things. All across the world.
When you talk about jingles, what medium do you want to put them on? People
Radio,
and TV.
How many people are still listening to radios and
No,
watching
people
Do
still
TV?
put it on their Facebook and their and
Social
Twitter.
media,
Twitter
yes.
has
Let them
media,
see
yeah,
them.
If you do good, you do for yourself.
Yes.
If you do bad, now you sabi.
Sabi, oh. Even crossing the road
bad,
there.
now
Yes.
you go take your head, carry your. Keep on locking it into
Yes,
the heads
because-
of our young people. At a point, it begins to stick.
That's where the National Orientation Agency comes in now.
You mentioned that again.
Yes, and the arts and culture.
Is this still a
department,
zero
yes.
budget situation? The country has to preserve its own life. Little things preserve the life of an organism.
Yes.
That's the point.
Exactly. Now let's go quickly, if we still have time, to other stories. You know, FCT primary school teachers begin strike today.
That's another worrisome
That's
story.
another worrisome
I mean,
story. Yes.
At the beginning of this session, I remember in September when other schools, private schools resumed. Primary schools in the FCT did not resume because they were on strike.
Yes.
And now again, it's the second term and the same story. I mean, this issue should just be fixed.
Fine. So, where are we in terms of negotiating? You see, every time I keep on dropping the word negotiation, and I mentioned the Nigerian president, not because Chukwudi has suddenly decided to become a sycophant. I like his style.
Yeah.
The president gets you to do certain things without throwing a punch. He knows how to. Come here. Learn it. What are the teachers complaining about? Can we say, come? We feel what you feel, but the times are not the most auspicious at this moment. Can you please? It's negotiation all the time.
Yes.
Even within your family, you negotiate over the use of that soap in the bathroom. Because at a point, your mom could release one statement, it could sound reckless, from the sitting room. Every time one person going to buy soap for this house, she's making a point. Anytime anywhere you are in life, you're negotiating with the community around you.
Exactly.
We have to learn it.
Please, they should rethink this decision they've taken. Chukwudi, on that note, thank you so much for coming.
I hope I've not been talking too much.
No, you make a lot of sense.
Ladies.
Make a lot of sense, Chukwudi. Thank you so much for coming.
Thank you.
Chukwudi, have a great day.
Too.
We'll take a break now. When we come back, we'll get into our discussion. Of course, it's on the Armed Forces Remembrance Day. Please stay with us.
You're welcome back, and to begin our conversation on the Armed Forces Remembrance Day, let's take this background report by Ibrahim and Hamidu.
The Armed Forces Remembrance Day is sacred to the country and observed on the 15th of January every year to honor members of the Nigerian Armed Forces who lost their lives in the line of duty defending the existence of Nigeria, particularly during and after the Nigerian Civil War, plus active service of Nigerian soldiers in the First World War and Second World War, as well as various peacekeeping missions across Africa and the world. Remembrance Day also signifies the end to all hostilities and combat in war, ushering in long peace and triumph over the horrors of war which threaten the existence of humanity. The ceremony, which usually takes place in Abuja and simultaneously across the nation, is a solemn but heartening occasion that recognizes the unwavering dedication of our brave servicemen and women. On this day, high-ranking officials, as well as veterans and their families, gather to pay their respects with an unspoken reverence for those who have given their lives in service of the nation. The humbling display of honor and remembrance is a portrayal of the valor and selflessness embodied by the armed forces. As a special day to Nigerians, keen to know more, that the spiritual life of every soldier is important than his equipment. Their heart, spirit, and soul are in harmony to execute their main objective, which is to defend the existence of Nigeria, as soldiers are relied upon to accomplish every mission in the theater of operations. And as every armed forces member's allegiance to Nigeria is imprinted in memory, after rigorous training at service academies across the country and fatherland, the call obeyed to Nigeria shall never be in vain.
Well, thanks, Ibrahim, for that beautiful background report. The pictures say a lot. And, we're going to talk about the armed forces now. And we have joining us for the discussion, specifically on the Armed Forces Remembrance Day. We have with us Major General Abdulmalik Jibril, the National Chairman, Nigerian Legion. Many thanks for joining us.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Also with us here in the studio is Chris Agiri, DG Flag Foundation of Nigeria. Welcome to Good Morning Nigeria, sir.
Thank you very much. Good morning, Nigerians. Happy New Year and best wishes to our armed forces.
Yes, indeed, it's good to see you all. And joining us from our Just studio is Major Gabriel Adofiku, retired former Secretary General, Retired Army, Navy and Air Force Officers Association. development management and security consultant. You're welcome to Good Morning Nigeria.
Thank you very much for having me. Good morning, Nigeria. Good morning, NTA. Good morning, my brothers and sisters, veterans out there in the nation. And good morning, our younger colleagues in service. God bless you all.
Thank you. And also joining us from Kaduna is Wing Commander Musa Salmanu, retired development, peace and security expert. You're welcome to Good Morning Nigeria and compliments of the season.
Nigerians, thank you so much for having me.
Let's quickly begin with Major General Abdul Malik Jibril, is the national chairman, Nigerian Legion. Let's have a picture of the situation of ex-servicemen and those in service in the military, and the police and all that, the veterans themselves. Let's have a picture of the situation they have. And first of all, congratulations on celebrating this day. Nigerians are celebrating with you and are feeling that the veterans in Nigeria should be able to get more than they are getting now. What is the situation of these veterans in this country right now?
Thank you very much, and good morning once again, Nigerians, and good morning, my colleague veterans as well as the serving personnel. The Nigerian veterans, thanks to the effort of the federal government of Nigeria, we can say that it can still be better, but absolutely we will have to drop our hat for the effort the government is making to make the lives of veterans comfortable. But all the same, you know, once you are a veteran, you are also in the labor market. You are also in the market to compete alongside other Nigerians. You go to the same market, and therefore, whatever that a veteran has by way of pension, gratuity that you are given immediately after you discharge, it's just for you to settle down. Immediately after settling down, you are now on pension, and your pension, if not gradually upgraded in line with inflation trend in the nation, certainly the life of a veteran is under serious danger, because he has expended his entire life. He is no longer probably in position to embark upon other activities that will earn additional living. So it is very important as compared in other climes where the veterans are given special care, special facilities that will augment the entitlement they are getting even after they left service. So this is the situation, this is where we are. And to crown it all, the Nigerian Legion, which has the statutory responsibility of taking care or overseeing the welfare of the veterans, is grossly underfunded. It's not even funded. So the only means of sustenance and running costs that we have is what we are able to gather within the period of 3 months every year, 25th of October to 15th January, through the sale of the emblem. And unfortunately, even that, it is not encouraging at the end of the day, minus the contribution the Legion gets through pronouncement, pledges from government and institutions, government institutions. What we get from the general public is nothing to write home about. So if we are to rely on that, I would say that the life of the veterans, without continued assistance, continued reviewing of the benefit and pensions and all that a veteran will require to complete the rest of his life in terms of medical health care, educational facility for his dependents. The problem, the life of a veteran is full of challenge. But as I said, the government is doing its best, and we do appreciate what we can still do better.
Major General Jibril, many thanks for your response to that question. But, from the way you spoke, I see you trying to cover up, some of the challenges that veterans may be facing. You saying that, government is doing its best. But Chris Agiri, you are not a veteran. You are not serving in the military, and then you come.
He's a veteran in the spirit.
You come across these statesmen, these people who lay down their lives for this country. You have one-on-one interaction with them. I want you to tell us in clear terms, really. Do you think, like Major General has said, that government is doing enough, or you think government should do more for our veterans and then their dependents, for those who are no more?
Yeah, well, to be honest, in response to your question, let me quickly say this. Nigerians, across board, we Nigerians, and indeed the government of Nigeria, have fed the retired, the veterans we are talking about, the retired men and women that spend the best productive period of their years in service to our country. We are alive because they lay down their lives. We have fed them. We don't care. But before I get back to that, let me comment. They call me flagman. The members of Nigerian Armed Forces, it is for their sake that we have this flag flying today. They lay down their lives to get this flag flying. That is the truth. There's no ambiguity about it. We appreciate them. The Flag Foundation that I represent appreciates them, and indeed all Nigerians. Notwithstanding the ignorance of Nigerians to what they go through. Without them, we wouldn't have a country. Without the members of the armed forces. Unfortunately, we talk down on them at little provocation and so on and so forth. These are the real guardian angels of Nigeria. And so, if you look at their contributions from First World War, Second World War, to the Civil War, up to death, their contribution to the international community, through the West African, Liberia, Sierra Leone, ECOMOG, Sudan, Yugoslavia, Lebanon, on peacekeeping operations, Congo, as far back as those days. They laid down their lives for world peace. They've sacrificed a lot. They are courageous men. And God Almighty will reward them in the best way. And we, having realized that we have failed them, it is a wake-up call to every Nigerian that indeed, if it were possible to say, suspend the activities of armed forces for the next 3 months, would we still have a country with the security challenges across board? We still. I am privileged to know what they go through because, as Flag Foundation, they are the custodians of the national flag. They know, they celebrate the flag. They worship the flag. They reverence the flag. They are fighting to keep the flag flying. So I interact with them closely across board, from the generals down to the recruits. And they open their minds to me. As a matter of fact, General, I was telling you, on Thursday I went to visit the defense headquarters. As I was coming out, I encountered a soldier who knew that I'm in the media space, so to speak. He said, "Oga Flag, tell them that they should try for us." So that was the first time I had what they called a duty cash allowance or ration duty allowance, which is money they give them maybe well on duty. This ones you see on the road, right? He said it's 1,500 naira a day to this man that stands on the road from morning to night
and sleep there sometimes.
And sleep there 1,500 naira. Though I later reached out to a retired general who told me it's 2,000 actually, but it is the same from the recruit to the major general. It's the same every day. It has not changed. In fact, he went further to tell me that the CDS made a case about it. He doesn't know whether they've changed. Now, the public have this perception that now the organs they chop them. Now the organs they chop them. This is the honest truth. God is my witness. On Thursday, a truth I didn't know I was coming for this program. Those are the ones serving. Now, if you encounter those, when I visit Oga's office, those who are retired, including those I knew that were major generals there. Honestly, though age and wear and tear of our life, but if you look at their living standard, honestly, you pity them. You pity them. It should not be so for the people that have given their all. It should not be so. So, in other words, I made some inquiries. They say it's also the politicians have a role to play. That the House Committee on the Army and the Armed Forces, the Senate Committee on the Armed Forces, who do oversight on the Armed Forces, man. What are their findings? That their salary of an average soldier is about 50,000 or less. 50,000 for somebody that will be in the bush. You know, when people talk about fighting, they thought it's a joke. They thought it's play. If you see what they encounter physically with bandits, with Boko Haram, with criminals, honestly, Nigeria, we are failing these guys. And we should just wake up, beginning from now. Nigerians, the government at all levels, and at all arms of government, the organized private sector, Nigerians, whether you eat or not, because you see, we are here because there is peace. And because there is peace, because we are free, because they are there out there. Indeed. No. And so don't forget this. You cannot be a great nation without a strong armed forces.
Exactly. You cannot be a great nation without a strong.
Sometimes I get emotional about it.
No. You have to, because you've been witness to so many things that are happening, and the insecurity in this country these days makes us emotional. You heard our newspaper reviewer being very emotional about it. And the exceptional contributions, during the civil war and ongoing efforts in counter-terrorism, counter-insurgency, and internal security has been pivotal, in keeping this country one and sane. And let's bring in Major General Ado Ofiko, retired, into the conversation. He's joining us from our Jos studio. The pivotal role of the security operatives in Nigeria cannot be overemphasized. They've been doing much, and they've continued to do that with Hydra-headed insecurity situation in this country, the civil war and all that, the veterans and the serving personnel that we have now. Yes, there are issues. Yes, there are challenges. And this time around, we've seen the budget coming out, and the security coming out at the top of the 2024 budget. How do you think, in your own way of thinking, that this security vote for security in the budget will change the narrative for veterans and those in service, in changing their lives and making sure that they are well taken care of? Because after the celebration, the question I keep asking is, what next? We call them the guardians of our freedom in this country. We go there with all the fanfare, laying wreaths and all that. But after the celebration, what happens next? Do we just sit down and wait for another year to celebrate them? Do we keep celebrating and not looking at issues that affects them?
Thank you very much. Thank you for your question. But first, let me again humbly restate that I'm retired major. If you add general, I will be insisting my pension should be enhanced. I am a retired major. The issue of veterans, I think, like Mr. Aguirre has summed it up. If it had come from us, the veterans, it will sound as if we are struggling to establish our status in the system. But that it has come from somebody external to us, it helps a cause. First of all, there must be a national reorientation to the facts concerning the labor segment called the Armed Forces of Nigeria. It's a labor segment, though as strategic and significant it is. It's a segment. These are persons taken from their enclaves, built into human war machines, and later returned to base. And when they are returned to base, there is no definite program for reintegration. And may I, at this point, just for quick emphasis, state that it is only the armed forces that does not retire home and go to enjoy. The third, paragraph 3 of their retirement note says you are retired into reserve. In other words, you can still be called over in whatever aspects, though the extent to which that is being practiced is a subject for some other discussion. But for now, I would say, like the general mentioned, the chairman of the Nigerian Legion, he stated it, and it's a fact I know, that there is no budget provision for the Nigerian Legion in the system. And if you look at the act that establishes the Nigerian Legion, Act 23 of 1978, you will find that the responsibilities there given to the Nigerian Legion is so much that you cannot confine it to January 15, 3 months donation and begging around. In other words, I wish Nigeria will remove the veterans from the table of the beggars team to the table of people you are concerned with. People you make laws to protect and preserve whatever the welfare they need to be in. In other words, the summary of my position is we need a new rethink. Let it come from the National Assembly. Let it come from the various executive offices, national and state governments. Let there be a new attitude towards the veterans. That may help the Nigerian society, the ordinary man on the street, to begin to understand that this guy in uniform is not just a salaried person. He's a person who has committed to your survival. Person who is daily working to your survival. And if we change that, if we have that paradigm shift in our social thinking, it would help our situation. But like it's been mentioned, we need to do a rethink in what goes to them. I feel ashamed and feel uncomfortable when Mr. Giri was going to that extent of mentioning the average salary that goes to these people who have given their life for the survival of this country. It's not an issue to be discussed. I think it's an issue to be appreciated. No amount of money that will be paid to the armed forces that will make any difference. And then finally, concerning the budget, if you look at the details of that budget, except for the provision for pensions and gratuities and all that, there is no other provision for a deliberate developmental initiative to cater for the welfare of people who are out of the service. That is a point.
All right, many thanks, Major Ofiku, for your comments. We'll definitely get back to you. And Musa Samana, the wing commander who is in Kaduna, I would like you to please just stay put. I would like to engage Major General Abdul Malik Jibril for just a while, because
opening comments so that when we come back we concentrate on.
Okay, well, okay, fine. Let's go to Kaduna. Wing Commander Musa Salmana, retired. Just for your opening comments, I would like you to be brief, because we need to engage Major General Abdul Malik Jibril. He needs to join the celebration and at 8:15. So, of course, we want to get much from him before he joins the celebration. But Salmana, you've heard the comments of all our guests this morning about how they're being taken care of. I want to find out your opinion. I'm a bit worried about the whole comments, or the comments coming out from our guests this morning, because I'm thinking that if veterans, those that are alive, their welfare is not taken care of, and then those who are living and still in service are not being properly taken care of, then imagine those who have passed on in the course of service. What's happening to their dependents at the moment? So, I mean, I just wish we had, someone, talk about how they're being treated by the Nigerian state. But please share your experience with us.
Thank you so much for the opportunity. What I will say is that two things here. I want Nigerians to view veterans from a different perspective. Here we have pool of talents who have been trained in various spheres of life and who have seen a lot of experience all over the world most times. And they are here retired, most of them, at a time that they could still offer something to society. So what I want first is that we should see veterans not as those people that are incapable of offering something to the society in return for what they're asking for, but people that can be engaged. For example, they have expertise which could be sought for and which could be given because, so they can be employed, some of them. They can be engaged in other aspects of human life. And so we have to see it from so that enhances their earning capacity. They just don't retire, and that diminishes their income. If we engage veterans more, they come with something that a lot of others in the workforce do not come with. They come with the expertise, with exposure, and they come with a training that a lot of industry or sectors do not offer. They are professionals in their own field, apart from just carrying their guns. In terms of the fallen heroes, like the chairman of the Legion has said, a lot has been done by government, but a lot could still be done. Much more could still be done. For example, there is nothing that is too much for someone that has sacrificed his life, especially for the dependents that they left behind. I know the services, that's both Army, Navy, and the Air Force, have certain provisions for next of kins and children of those that have lost their lives in active service. But there is need for constant review of that to ensure that it catches up with the inflation rate and so on, and so that it becomes or it remains relevant in a way that it can sustain them and give them succor. It cannot replace the lost one, but it can give them succor to tell them that the Nigerian state, and indeed Nigerians, are grateful for that sacrifice that their loved one has done and the supreme price that they had to pay.
Many thanks, Musa Salmanu there. Major General Jibril, we'll get to you now. At this point, I want to ask you, you made mention of the fact that, well, the Nigerian state is trying, not doing so well, but you talked about the emblem and then how you try to get funds just to care for the needs of these veterans. Because of time, I want to quickly get to this part of the question. How do you go about caring for veterans? I'm talking about the Nigerian Legion now, with the funds that you get. I'm asking because recent developments in Nigeria, just opened up what has been happening. When you have to care for people, looking at example of the humanitarian ministry, for example, and the kind of stories we're hearing. I just want to find out, is it that those who benefit, the veterans who benefit from the Nigerian Legion, are those who know those at the top, or you have a way of making sure that it is even and it goes across board, for the veterans?
Well, thank you very much once again. In my opening remarks, I alluded to the fact that the government is doing good. However, we still there's a lot more to be done. What I mean by that is that the constant review of the entitlement in relation to the inflationary trend in the society. When a soldier is given 2,000 daily, for example, at a time when 2,000 was money, it could be okay. But when you now relate it to the existing inflation, 2,000 is cannot buy him. It's just maybe a price for one bottle of Coke plus a donut. That's all, and that cannot take him anywhere. Now, coming back to the question, the issue of emblem and what we realize out of it, and how does it impact upon the veteran. If there is no way, the rate at which we are going and what we always get within these 3 months, there is no way. It's not even enough for running costs of the Legion administration, not to talk of carrying out program that will impact on the lives of the families of the veterans. And that's why the act that established the Nigerian Legion has provided ample opportunity for businesses to be embarked upon. But those businesses, those investments cannot be realized without the take-off grant that is necessary to invest and then start expanding. And that has been, we are 60 years old, and no take-off grant has ever been given to the Nigerian Legion. No budget is being included, the Legion is not included in the annual budget. So where do you think that the Legion will get the fund, necessary finances to administer the welfare of the families of the veterans left behind by our fallen heroes, and also those veterans that have served and retired peacefully? You cannot achieve that without adequate finance. You must have financial base. Now, when you look at the extent of despair among the veterans, it can only be mentioned, like my colleague here said, when you need to go and see how they live, you need to go and see how they cannot even take over their family, look after their families. Immediately you are discharged, and the services, that is Army, Navy, Air Force, has given you and your family what is your entitlement. You are now immediately transferred to the Nigerian Legion by way of monitoring, administering your welfare from time to time. And you cannot do that. That's why we have opportunity, if we have the means, to establish even hospital that will augment the national insurance scheme that is grossly inadequate in taking care of the element that befalls veterans. It's only minor sicknesses that are covered under that scheme. So if we have the fund, we establish trauma center, we establish hospital that will avail facility to the families of the fallen heroes. As I am now, I'm only myself and my wife are entitled to get medical attention. What of my other siblings? What of the families of those who died? The same thing also with educational support. There are limits to the number of children, there are limits on age. So this the Legion, if properly developed, properly funded, it can take care of all those aspects and augment the life and improve the life after retirement and before we. Some of the other aspects that the services would need to revisit, as a matter of fact, and they can only revisit effectively by including it in their annual budget submitted to the government for approval. The allowances given that are supposed to be given to retirees after they left service for annual medical checkup is there in the provision, but is not given to us.
Yes.
So these are some of the things that need to be taken care of, and until we do that, until the Legion is properly funded, properly established, to be able to carry out those opportunities that are embedded under the Act, for them to have the financial base to be able to carry over the responsibility of veterans and their families, particularly those of the fallen heroes, will continue to present a challenge.
When you talk about properly established, properly funding, the Legion is almost 60 years, you said.
Absolutely.
That is a long time to wait for funding or establishment of the Legion itself. And some people to celebrate you as veterans of this country, people who laid their lives for the stability, for the oneness of Nigeria. Some people have called for a framework to look into the education, mental health of veterans and those in service who have, been wounded and cannot function again, as personnel or go to any war or anything. Though we don't call it war, but what is happening in Nigeria today, we say there's a war within the country, and we have young widows with young children who after their husbands die and they're given their money, they are told to vacate the barracks.
Absolutely.
These people have grown up, were born in a structured system of living. So in this framework, would I say that there should be accommodation provided for these widows of these fallen heroes and veterans who cannot assimilate into the normal society like where we are, so that they can function better? The mental health and counseling section itself is very, very important. Like it's all other crimes. Go to hospital, they counsel you. If you lose somebody, imagine a 22-year-old girl losing her husband with just 2 children. Imagine the trauma she goes through. So there should be a framework, so that that will address these issues. Don't you think?
Absolutely. This is coming back to what I said.
Yes.
The funding that I talk about, and the issue of number of years that the Nigerian Legion has been in existence, and yet there's hardly anything to show for it. This is attributable to so many factors. One is the lack of proper leadership for this period of 60 years. It is only
On the part of the Nigerian Legion?
Yeah, on the part of the Nigerian Legion. No appropriate leadership that is focused, that can reach out to the government effectively. You then mentioned in the early stage of this interview that some state made donations. We have 36 chapters of the Nigerian Legion in 36 states plus FCT. The state governors are the patron, while at the center, the commander-in-chief.
I'm asking you this question. I'm not pausing you here. I'm asking you this question because we just have 24 years of democracy. All the other years were ruled by the military. So why didn't the military, put effort into making sure that the veterans and those in service get what they deserve?
Yes, we're
waiting for the democratic government to come in because yes.
The military is a disciplined organization. Even the intervention in the politics is unfortunate, but at least they show a semblance of responsibility and prudence. They cannot be seen to be doing what will eventually become a source of criticism, that they have done this for themselves. But that is a mistake.
Yes.
That we have realized that we ought to have done by taking care of ourselves by ourselves. We cannot wait for somebody to do that for us. Unfortunately, we have waited and we have wasted the time. And the leadership of the Legion was inadequate, and therefore we are not able to, because if you have a focused leadership all these years, you will have gotten somebody who will challenge the military even at that time to say that this is where everybody is coming back to.
Yes.
You need to build this house so that when you come back, you can live in it comfortably. But nobody, because of lack of this. And at that level, a lot of officers have no interest in joining or looking at what the Legion is all about. It is only in recent times. I am the most senior officer to lead the Legion. The person I took over from was a brigadier general, and that was the highest. And before then, with due respect to our colleagues, soldiers, it was the soldiers that were showing interest. And it's not because they are not truly incapable, but they are not put in a position to be able to make their grievances or to push their requirement through. So if you don't have somebody who has the will and the wherewithal, you just go and sit down, and then what's the number of years as a leader, and then you leave.
So where are you now? Where are you now in the struggle?
We are because right now under my chairmanship, yes. I've already made a provision for the establishment of microfinance bank, which is under progress with the central bank, and I'm hoping that by the time the recommendation comes to Mr. President, who is our grand commander, he will ascend to that district. And when we establish the microfinance, it will access and allow the veteran to access soft loans that are less cumbersome in terms of collateral, to be able to enhance their educational provision for the welfare of fallen heroes' families, to also take care of to enhance their medical facility, medical care, because they cannot afford right now. If you have any major ailment, you cannot go to the normal conventional hospital and say you are a soldier and then they will treat you. No. So With the microfinance bank coming on board, it is to provide an opportunity for them to access that. Secondly, the issue of accommodation when you are pushed out of the barracks. The Legion, if provided with fund, under the Act, we are allowed to embark upon estate development. We can build accommodation for our veterans at a cheap price and affordable for them to access. But you cannot do that. Even the land now become an issue, and we have slept. As I said, over 60 years, we would have made, acquire those assets, and by now we'll just use them as collateral, acquire loan, and then build upon those properties. But we don't have such. So the funding is very, very key to what the future of a veteran in this country. And our
will you be looking at a public-private partnership with the Ministry of Housing to maybe provide housing?
Yeah, that's the way to go. But again, we need to even have the land. Okay. We don't have the land now. I have applied now. I have written an application, courtesy call, to visit the new Minister of FCT, who is very, very sympathetic to the cause of veterans. Yeah. When he was a governor in the River State, he was the only governor that gives substantial amount to the veteran in his state. Substantial. There are some states.
So why are you not pushing for that so that other states can emulate that? Because the veterans are from different states in this country.
Absolutely.
And then the governors are, in fact, talking about land now. The governors should be able to give out land, to these veterans.
That is high.
Because so why are you not looking in that direction?
You are correct. The issue is that unless you can be given the land, and if you don't have the means to the person to reach out to the governor, even at state level, the leadership, with due respect, is still the same as I'm talking about. We are trying to see how we can inject vibrant leadership at state level that can reach out. What is happening now? State governors do not even think. They believe probably whatever amount they give to the Legion is just like a waste. Meanwhile, it is a grant given to them for the soldiers, for the members of the armed forces from that state. They don't transfer that money to the headquarters. Whatever you give, it is for your own citizens in the state, and they are entitled to it. So, but still, you find some governors giving less than 1 million naira.
Okay, Abdul Malik, I don't want you to miss your event. Thank you so much for coming and shedding more light. And if we're alive by 2025, we expect you to see you with more palatable, discussions and telling us how far you've gone, because we have to let him go. Actually, National Chairman, Major General Abdul Malik Jibril. Thank you so much for coming.
Let me quickly commend General for the initiative he is bringing into the place. He has done a lot, and just thank God that we have woken up, and under your leadership a lot will be achieved.
All right, many thanks, Major General Jibril. Wish you all the best in today's celebration.
Thank you so much for coming.
All right, wait, the conversation continues, so we'll just quickly head to Jos now, where Major Gabriel Adofiku is sitting and listening to the conversation. You've listened to where the Nigerian Legion is. What other ways do you think they could push for a better welfare package from the Nigerian state?
Thank you very much. In my introductory comment, I remember using a phrase, integration program for the veterans back to their societies. That program includes every aspect of their living, their housing. These are people disconnected from their society, decultured from their society, because for 35 years, on the average, they had been garrisoned and built into the war machines and needed to be reversed. I'm not talking about the social psychology aspect of reversing their orientation, which is another business altogether. But the physical reintegration back to their society. Let me give you an illustration. During the British colonial management, a retiring soldier or a discharged soldier will be given a note to the DO, the district officer, that this is a person coming back. Do the best you can to make him comfortable for having served His Royal Majesty, or Her Royal Majesty as it was. Today, do we have a deliberate policy that if you leave the service, a question like, where do you want to go to? Back to your home, or you want to stay back here? If you go back to your home, you don't even have a space there anymore, because one, your colleagues are now the elders phasing out. Two, you have to struggle for a physical space to be part of that society. Remember, your orientation is now alien. Remember, your economy is now alien based. These are things that we need to sit back and work out the mechanism for bringing them and reintegrating them back into the society. In addition to what I earlier mentioned, a general national reorientation as to the attitude towards veterans. These things are very important. If there is no change in attitude, the physical change may not make too much meaning. I'll give you a very typical illustration. Somebody built a housing estate somewhere, and he says it's for veterans. And the reaction of the veterans is, I cannot move from barracks to barracks. This is a guy who has gone. You've built new value into him. Permit me to say this without sounding arrogant or sounding, proud. The military training is an embodiment of quality life living skills. Be it in the infantry, be it in the engineering specialized sectors, they have specialized training that can be converted into positive, productive living styles. We must be deliberate in addressing this. Like my brother from Kaduna was mentioning, there is an embodiment of wealth untapped in the veterans. This wealth, what are we doing about it? As a nation, what are we doing? As states, what are we doing? As even local governments, what are we doing? If we tap into them, we will find out that there is even more value for the nation to garner from these veterans than even the welfare package we think seeding money to support them. So that is the issue that needs to be quickly addressed. Secondly, and more importantly, is the fact that I want to restate this. The general attitude of seeing veterans as a begging community should be discarded with. Like my brother, the general, was telling you some few minutes ago. He said the 3 months campaign for donation emblem is what is available for them to use. I can confidently tell you from my inside knowledge that that amount has never been anything above 100 million naira. And if you have 100 million naira today to run a national outfit like that and begin constructive developmental programs for them in their various states, local governments, no, it won't work. We need to change our style. And the style is first change our attitude. And if we change our attitude, then we begin to arrogate what is due to keep these veterans going. Permit me to conclude by telling you this at this point. When you are taking care of the veterans, you are actually increasing the capability and productivity of those in service, because it's a vital moral booster for them. And then secondly, when you improve the quality of life of the veterans, like I did say, there are all classes of skills embedded in that outfit. You will also be improving the economy of the country. That is the position. It's not a begging issue. It's an issue of us changing and making life better for the veterans so that the nation can benefit from them.
Thank you so much, Major Gabriel, for your insight into that. Let's bring in Mr. Chris now into the conversation. And I'm a woman, and I know how it feels, when you lose a loved one. And though I have not lost a husband, but I've lost family members, I've lost my father and all that. And there's always been this cry for help by widows of veterans and fallen heroes. Some are not paid on time, their pension on time, and they end up mostly on the streets with nobody to take care of them. Because when they live, like they said, in this system of of living, like the barracks, where everything you do everything there, it's not easy to live a civilian life. Some widows have been crying that they need to be taken care of. Their children need to be taken care of. And let's talk about the veterans themselves. In other climes, they are put on the reserve in case of issues like we're having this insurgency now. Some of them retired because of years of service and not because of age. And they feel they can give more, they can impact more in the security apparatus of the country. Do we need to bring them in?
Okay, bringing them in. In fact, the issue is they are fundamental and multifaceted. And I crave the indulgence of my listeners to listen to me with an open mind, without bias. Years back, the former First Lady, Aisha Buhari, had a program at Ogudushu Barracks for the widows. She said she wept when she saw young women that have lost their husbands at their prime, or most of them below 30. They are more or less like beggars.
Destitutes.
They are young. They no longer enjoy the protection of their husbands, the comfort and emotional attachment. Their children are young. Where do they go to? It's a different ballgame. Okay, even when the pensions, when you see the armed forces personnel, thank God it has improved. These energetic, courageous men that sacrifice the best for the country, when you see them at old age, queuing up for their pension, dying while queuing up for their pension, you just know that, look, we are like jokers as a nation. May God help us. We're better late than never, like General said, in that regard. Now, in terms of the resources embedded with these people, my God, they are the best trained. You know their own, there's no sentiments. There's every 3 months, every 6 months, they must go on the refresher course, conferences, whatever. In every field of human endeavor, you have the military, the armed forces there. In fact, they are the greatest reservoir of knowledge. Yes. Not even in academics, not even, this is practical knowledge. Practical knowledge. That if we engage them, constructively, structurally, the issue of insecurity will diminish overnight. They are the ones that know what to do. I mean, after all, if you are giving go on now, can we operate it? Then no. In fact, Nigeria, for the fact that we are not using them, is to our own lot, to our own, we are losing. For the fact we are not using them, we lost a lot. And they are in every corner of Nigeria, but they come from all different parts of Nigeria, the remotest villages.
You mean the retired ones?
The retired ones, from generals to the lowest.
So what happens to the place of training? I mean, nobody is expected to remain in service forever.
Yes,
so
of course.
If you think that it's the retired ones that are supposed to, or are the ones who have the technical know-how to help us out of the security challenge we have, what happened to passing knowledge across to those who are currently in service?
No, those who are currently in service. Now, excuse me. Probably you are not getting me right. Yes. That look, the experience is by progression of the job, right? It's like, for example, I will come to that. Appointment of Chief of Army Staff. You choose from, the president have the prerogative, you choose from anywhere. The rest are weeded out with all the knowledge and the understand. In some cases, the necessary prerequisite knowledge of ascension have not been imparted. Have not been imparted to the those following behind.
Yes.
You have here about 3 or 4 courses are retired overnight. Yes, the president has the prerogative to pick, but my advice is you should go to the most senior, following the ones going, to avoid irritation. There was a time in police, Nigerian police, they are all members of the armed forces. All the senior commissioners all the 21 AIGs and DIGs were all swept away overnight. The ones who have not, in terms of progression, succession, impartation of knowledge from one cadre to another. I mean that until you attain the managerial level, you now become a manager. You are learning through the ropes, and those up are imparting you.
And most of them are not even due for retirement.
Those no, if you have that is even a different ballgame. A lot are retired at their prime. Well, that's a different ballgame altogether. But then utilizing them for the sake of good of the society, even when they've not even in the core armed forces distance, at least from the civilian angle. We are not doing that. In fact, it is one of our failings as a society, as a nation, as a government. You mentioned the issue of widows. I saw on television last night, I think other channels will arise. The widows whose husbands, they were middle level officers, majors, captains, I think lieutenant colonels, that died in 31 years ago in Abuja, Lagos. The Hercules that took off and then crashed minutes after that, all of them died. I think about 163 of them. They had their widows crying. Their entitlements and compensations have not been given.
Of course, we'll talk about that, but let's quickly take a break now. The conversation continues. Please stay with us. All right, welcome back. It's still Good Morning Nigeria, live on the network service of the NTA, and we're still talking about the Armed Forces Remembrance Day, and our guest is still with us. I'll quickly go to Jos now, where Major Gabriel Adofikwe, retired, is joining the conversation from Major Gabriel. Of course, we've listened to all the comments made so far. But at this, I'm thinking about heard the fact that maybe government is not doing enough. Chris Aguirre, right here in the studio, has also made the same comment. Well, there are certain people who think that the problem is within the armed forces itself, whether it is the military, whether the navy, whether the police. They say that for maybe retired personnel or fallen heroes, that it's within this same system that their dependents do not get their entitlement. Not necessarily the fact that government is holding it, but they hold it within. We've heard a lot of stories. So would you say that it's an issue of the armed forces not taking care of itself, and not necessarily the government not taking care of the armed forces? What's your view?
First of all, without attempting to defend the system, I want to say that there's a lot of room for improvement in the administration of benefits and entitlements for members of the armed forces, particularly at disengagement point, and even to their families and dependents when they disengage. I can tell you, yes, in recent times there's been a lot of efforts. There have been a lot of efforts, for instance, from the MPB, that's the Military Pensions Board, trying to digitalize using modern IT to do that. But like I said, there's more room for improvement in that direction. It should, the desire to make it as stress-free and as prompt and definite as possible to address that. There's a lot of room for improvement. But the bottom line of it is, look, we must not reduce welfare issues to just money. It must go beyond money. In economics, people talk about wages and salaries. Your salary may not bring you the kind of welfare quality that your wages would bring to you. We are looking at a situation where, like Chris Aguirre mentioned, if you disengage or somebody dies and the family, you pay them their entitlements, and then the next thing you ask them, move out of the barracks. The question is where? The question is how? The question is what you have given to them, would it be able to take care of them out there. These are the packages, the complete packages we need to review. And that is where I would say the government has a lot to do in that aspect. For the administration of entitlement, pensions and gratuity entitlements to dependents of particularly the fallen heroes, there's a lot room for improvement. There's a lot room for improvement. I wouldn't want, knowing that the military is the most articulately documented segment of our society in terms of personnel management, I think there's a lot we can do there. It shouldn't take more than 48 hours for anybody who is any dependents for a fallen hero that has been formally, in fact, as you are going to declare to the family that their husband, their father, their breadwinner is gone, you should be able to follow it up within 24, maximum 48 hours with his package. That will, help to ease their sorrow for the moment. So for that, I would say there's a lot of improvement needed, and that improvement, I like the disposition of the current Chief of Defense Staff, and indeed his service chiefs, because I could see them addressing, from their comments and from their actions, they are addressing not just the combat wing of their job, but also the social aspect, which includes the administration of the welfare of their men. For the Chief of Defense Staff to come up openly and tell you that he is not satisfied with the RCA, that is the daily cash allowance that is given to troops in the field, that shows that there is something. But I agree with you totally that there is need for greater improvement in the administration of those benefits to dependents, particularly those of the fallen heroes. That after that, they may not have the privilege, the opportunity, the capacity of coming back to lobby, to discuss, to beg. No. That shouldn't be. Like I did mention earlier on, what the treatment we met out to these veterans and their dependents, that treatment is what would boost the morale or lower the morale of those that are available to fight for us. So that is the position.
Right.
There's need for improvement.
Many thanks, Major Salmanu. You're right there in Kaduna, but of course we'll get back to you. At this point, we need to get to the National Arcade at the Eagle Square to have a feel of preparation for this year's Armed Forces Remembrance Day. Our colleague Najatu Tijani is standing by. Najatu, please, could you give us a sense of what is going on at the Eagle Square at the moment, and what's the preparation like for the event, about to kickstart in a few minutes?
Arrival of dignitaries in anticipation.
I think we're working on that.
Yeah, to get when it gets better, we'll now join the Najatu Tijani. Let's bring in Wing Commander Musa Salman. Okay, he's not there yet, but we'll return to Najatu Tijani to give us the mood of the environment there at the National Arcade to see how the veterans are waiting for the kickoff of the celebration this morning. Now, Mr. Chris, let me bring you in. When we went on break, we were having a conversation on how younger Nigerians do not want to join the military now because of what they are seeing on ground. And how can we boost the confidence and encourage them, to join the military so that we don't completely lose out, a generation of young people who say, I'm not going to die for a country that does not care for me.
God forbid. Yes. God forbid. That's why I was discussing with General Jubril that left. Was a program we are planning, which is entitled Honoring the Past, Motivate the Present, Encourage the Future. Now, from what the young men see on ground, doesn't encourage them. So it has to be a holistic approach. First, Nigeria as a nation, with the current challenges that we face, security challenges with our diversity and vastness, we need more men and women in the armed forces. In fact, Nigerian military strength should not be anything less than 1 million. The army alone, 1 million, with majority in the infantry, to secure the security of Nigeria. We don't need to be deceiving ourselves. Now, unfortunately, in some parts of the country, the young men and women are not turning up for recruitment. I know some states in Nigeria, they're not meeting up 50% of their quota for annual recruitment in the rank and file. Those that fight the battle, yes, a lot will be wanting to go to NTA. They're not meeting up with all the current challenges. In fact, I have attempted suggesting conscription of youth to get into the army. Because look at what happens in Meduguri. They will go and defeat Boko Haram. They don't have enough men, what they call boots on ground, to hold the ground. They move to another place. Those ones will come back to take. Then, because they are not turning up. So there should be a deliberate effort to encourage young people to come up. One of the ways is taking care of the retired. We must make the job so interesting that when they are going, it's one job that as you see them shouting, oh, we don't they go, one thing is certain, some of them will not come back. But then they have to go. Somebody have to do the work. And it's the greatest calling to serve your nation. So if we must encourage these ones who are retired, we must make the ones serving more comfortable and happier. Boost their morale. Then encourage the younger ones, the aspiring ones to join.
Talking about aspiring, the younger ones to join, it brings me to question about the female members of the Nigerian troop, or if you like, the Nigerian Armed Forces. And my question is directed at Musa Salmanu now. I want you to tell me, because we hear about associations for widows of, fallen heroes. We don't hear of association of widowers. I just want to know. Yes, are there certain programs, for the female, personnel of the Nigerian Armed Forces, and then for those who are also falling, what's happening to their widows and their dependents? Okay, all right, Salmanu, you respond to that question, but it looks like Najatu is ready now. Najatu, if you are, please could you speak to us about the situation at the Eagle Square, the National Arcade, where the Armed Forces Remembrance Day would be holding in a few minutes.
Everything is good to go here at the National Arcade, where the cenotaph of the unknown soldier stands. Of course, this is the 2024 Armed Forces Remembrance Day, commemorating Nigeria's fallen heroes and, of course, the living, who work tirelessly to ensure that the territorial integrity of Nigeria is not breached. And just you can see the cenotaph standing proud, the unknown soldier standing proud as a symbol of the sacrifice to keep the country one. As you know, the Armed Forces Remembrance Day commemorates the end of Nigeria's civil war, and the funeral party has already taken position. Why is there a funeral party at this occasion? The Nigerian military has many traditions, and one of it, this particular tradition, is called a most solemn occasion. It is to commemorate those who lost their lives while serving the nation, and not just in one particular moment in time, but at all times. And that is why you can see the funeral party. And in the course of this event, you will see many symbols of the Nigerian military, which will point to some of the significance of the day, which I will be explaining in due course. In the meantime, just before you joined, there was a plaque, there was a roll call of so many Nigerian soldiers, of course, across the military, the Nigerian Army, the Nigerian Navy, and the Nigerian Air Force, who lost their lives serving the nation. One of the soldiers who has been commemorated here today is Lieutenant Colonel Abu Ali. He was born in 1985. He died in 2016 fighting Boko Haram insurgents. Another person who is being commemorated here today is Flying Officer Tolulokpe Arotile, the Nigerian Air Force first fighter combat helicopter pilot, the first female rather combat helicopter pilot, and you know, a whole host of others, which of course in the course of the event you will get to hear their names, because this is a day for Nigerians to remember their sacrifice. This is a day for Nigerians to remember that they left loved ones behind as well. And so of course we have widows of the fallen here represented. Of course I will give a brief roll call of those who are here as well. Members of the National Assembly are already seated. Some members of the Federal Executive Council are already here as well. Members of the Diplomatic Corps, defense attaches from various countries around the world, and of course the members of DEPOA, Defense and Police Officers' Wives Association. They are all represented here, senior military officers, and the President and Commander-in-Chief of the Armed Forces, that's President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, is expected to arrive any minute from now, and he will be leading the delegation to lay the wreath at the foot of the unknown soldier. Now, before I sign off, Yenre, I want to quickly share with you some of the symbols that you can see. You will see pairs of boots. You will see helmets as well, combat helmets. These are symbols of those who have fallen. And if you attend a funeral, and of course this is a sort of funeral commemorating the fallen heroes, you will see that a soldier is always buried with his boots, his combat helmet, and of course the Nigerian flag, signifying that he died serving the nation. And of course some of the service chiefs have already started arriving, and I'll stop here for now, Ray, until all of them arrive and I can give you a rundown of what is happening as the events unfold.
Thank you so much for that elaborate, explanation of how it's going to unfold in the next few minutes. And I'm sure that there's some good news for the veterans there coming from the president. I believe that after the celebration, they will be able to go home smiling. Thank you so much, Aja Atu, for that elaborate description of the event. Back here in the studio now, we'll now bring in Wing Commander Musa Salman. You've listened to Najatu at the National Arcade talking about the celebration that will be coming up in a few minutes. And what are your expectations actually from it?
My expectations, just like she said, it's a solemn moment. It's a moment or a day in which we remember those that have paid the supreme price. But most importantly, it's a day in which we celebrate those that are still serving and that are going to serve the country. Because like it has been highlighted, is the way we treat those that have retired or that have departed that will determine the quality and the number of people that will get interested in serving the nation. It's a voluntary military, and as such, people look up to what is in the front of them. They look up to those that are serving, and that will determine whether they have that interest or not. So today I expect that there is going to be a solemn reflection about how far the state of security or peace and security in the country, how far we have come, the challenges, but also most importantly what has been achieved in the past 1 year and what the future looks like. There are going to be speeches, but most importantly is after the speeches, the implementation of what is promised. Like it has been highlighted by members of this panel, that I think we have to shift away from a system of looking at the veterans, at people that come cap in hand, begging or something, that we should look at the veterans as stakeholders, major stakeholders in the security architecture, but also in the development of this country, that they have skills that they can offer. I always feel that if we empower them in society by encouraging them or by at least trying them, because there's always this notion when a military retired veteran comes and puts in application, and the first notion is that this guy is just an infantry or something. But the fact is that, as has been highlighted, and we have seen over the years, that they are one of the best trained. They are one of people that come with so much expertise that could be used in all aspects of human endeavor. What they come with more is that value addition of discipline, of the fact that they have served in very challenging and demanding situations, and they can transfer those skills, life skills, into productivity. So we want, moving forward, a veteran society that is viewed as a very active, vibrant society that can contribute to the welfare and to the well-being of the country. They need the opportunity, they need to be given the spaces, they need to be also be given that so that they can prove their worth. I am sure that if we do that, going forward, we'll realize that we have a huge pool which we can tap from the veteran society. And then talking about the earlier questions about women or widowers, the interesting thing is that in the military, the rules that apply are the same. What do I mean? What determines what you get after either as a late soldier or not is your rank and your years of service. It doesn't matter whether you are a male or a female. And if you have children, for example, you are entitled to your children. If you die in active service, you are entitled to up to 4 children being taken care of from their primary up to university, or at least to the age of 21, anyone that comes earlier. So that is the provisions, and all these programs are also open to the widowers. I think it's a societal issue when it comes to widowers not benefiting. There's that feeling, I think, and which has to change, where the male feel that, no, I cannot be seen as a widower, kind of, and also because we have also given it that feeling that they are begging, coming cap in hand, and so on and so forth. So a lot of the widowers do not want to go that way. If we change, and if society views it that this can happen to anyone, and whether male or female, the entitlement is the same, I am sure that with time you're going to see more widowers coming out to also benefit from these programs.
Salmanu, for your response to that question. It's about time to wrap up, but I'll just quickly get to Chris Agiri now. What will be your last words, as we celebrate this year's Armed Forces Remembrance Day? You can see the arcade looking very beautiful. That's how it is every year. There's the adequate preparation to make this day very beautiful, colorful, and I'm sure today you hear some, pledges and different things going around. And like we have said, sometimes it ends with today, and then till next year.
That's
so what can we do? How can we be better, please?
Yes. One, I want to say this, that the Armed Forces Remembrance Day should no longer be a strictly military affair. They died in defending the citizens. Let the citizens be part of that. Some countries it's a national holiday. It is an avenue to reawaken the consciousness of the citizens to these people who died for our sake. In other words, let's, across the country, not more than 5-10% of Nigerians know what is happening today. Whereas these people died defending us. So it should be more liberalized so that all Nigerians come on board. It will increase the support. In terms of this emblem, Dara was telling me, they sold not less than about 50,000 pieces, as against 220 million Nigerians.
Not many Nigerians know what it's about.
That's the issue. That's where awareness comes in. And I promise him, we'll work together. By next year, about 100 million of it will be sold. And money will be generated to take care of this, the fallen heroes and their families. And so, let there be more empathy from the government and Nigerians, the organized private sector, In fact, I call on the president, there should be an urgent intervention fund for the Nigerian Legion, with a view so that we can get them on board, that those aspiring to join will see that these guys are taken care of. Those serving will be motivated that when they eventually disengage, that they also have a future. Finally, they are highly resourceful in every field of human endeavor, even in terms of security. Now we're talking about community policing, we're coming about, vigilantes and all that. Engage them. That's one area they are so good at.
Okay.
Engage them.
Yeah. Okay, Mr. Chris Aguirre, on this note, we thank you so much for coming on Good Morning Nigeria, and talking about issues like this always brings to the fore areas that needs to be to be looked into and addressed. Exactly. Thank you so much for coming, Mr. Chris Aguirre, DG Flags Foundation of Nigeria. Thank you so much for coming.
For keeping the flag.
Yes, and Major Gabriel Adolphe, retired former Secretary General, retired Army, Navy and Air Force Officers Association Development Management and Security Consultant. It's always a pleasure to have you come on a day like this, to talk about issues concerning Nigerian veterans and our fallen heroes. We appreciate you. And from our Kaduna studio, we're joined by Wing Commander Musa Salmanu, retired development, peace and security expert. Thank you so much for your input into the conversation. We appreciate you. Thank you so much. And thanks for joining us on Good Morning Nigeria today. I am Jumai Yusuf.
All right, I'm Henry John. The conversation continues on the Armed Forces Remembrance Day. Our studio opens, to bring you all the live commentaries as the event goes down at the National Arcade. So we'll join our other studio now, where our colleague Ruth Aguela is standing by to give you all the details. Stay with the Nigerian Television Authority. Bye for now.